Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me on my podcast, Swiping Over 40, Online Dating for Mature Women. So all you ladies over 40 years old that are looking for love the first time around, or maybe it's the second or third time around, join in on our podcast as I interview all different types of men from all walks of life who give advice on dating, how to navigate the internet dating process, things that men are looking for. We share stories, looking really forward to sharing all this valuable information with you and helping you find love the first, second, or even third time around. For the third time in a row, I have our special guest here, Kevin West. Kevin, welcome to the third episode of Online Dating.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Nice to have you back. So we're going to step into this a little bit more, Kevin, and there's some specific situations that I would like to step through today. And again, for those of you that don't know, I do have a book coming out. It's called Dating in a Fast Food World, The Girlfriend's Guide to Internet Dating, She Says, He Says. And this is the She Says, He Says portion. So what we do is we take different scenarios you may encounter on internet dating, and we get the opinion from both a woman and a man's perspective. So, and Kevin himself is writing a book on dating as well. So he has a lot, years and years. He's actually a dating expert. And so we love, ladies, to hear his advice. And again, I think I've said this on every episode, and he's single. So by choice for now, right, for now. So he knows how to navigate the process, and that's for sure. The one thing I want to talk about today is determining which site to go on. So we have these, women who are, maybe they're, past 40, they're divorced, they've already had a family, been married, or maybe they just waited till later in life to, plunge into that sea of internet dating. There's a lot of different sites out there. Hey, there's sites that have a reputation for being hookup sites that, I won't mention names, sites that are more serious, where you're actually looking for a marriage, perhaps. When a woman who wants to find love again, a second time around after 40, do you have any advice on what dating site they might want to go on, like what type of site and what they should look for when they're choosing what site?
Well, I'm not trying to give too general of an answer, Kathlyn, but I'm also, I might not be giving a specific answer as perhaps you might like, and I'm not, for one simple reason. I've never viewed any of those things as a hookup site, except for one in particular that has a specific name that literally says, this is an adult either find you site or this is an adult affair site. I mean, those sites are very clear about what they are, and I doubt that is what your audience would be looking for. And if they are, then those sites are very clear. All of the rest of them, are simply trying to tell you that they're a place to, encounter a human being via the electronic interface. It doesn't matter whether it's Tinder, OkCupid, Bumble, or anything else. They're all sites that, to me, are trying to say, and even Match or eHarmony. I think there are plenty of men on there that are just trying to hook up, and women there who probably have, and vice versa, people who found long-term relationships. I'm not trying to give you a non-answer, but I'm very careful with giving an impression psychologically, because I believe that a lot of what goes wrong in dating is very psychological, in terms of is someone's belief system that a 98 or 99% of the people there are psychologically looking for the same thing they are. I think most women from the time they're 16 are looking for a relationship, and for very brief periods of time in a man's life, he's actually trying to find someone to be serious with. So I think that's the general conundrum we always face. It's a matter of meeting somebody and massaging that out through the process of dating. Because again, I call them meeting sites. So that's why I vary on that.
Yeah, I do like your perspective that we've talked about on our first episode of the difference between dating and meeting, but and it is meeting people online my perspective and other women that I've spoken with is if they're really serious about finding someone, they prefer to go to a paid site versus a free site. Their thought process is that if somebody is really serious about finding a partner, they're going to put a little, they're going to put their money where their mouth is, meaning they're going to make it some type of an investment because they're really looking for love. And if somebody's a little bit less serious, they may go to one of those free sites, being that they're not really serious, they're not sure, maybe they're looking for a hookup, maybe they're not, maybe they're just looking at pictures because they've been quarantined for 3 or 4 months and they just want to see people. I can say that now, but I couldn't say that before. They just want to swipe when they're at the stoplight or what have you. So again, do you feel that if somebody, do you feel that those that are paid sites, the people that join those sites are a bit more serious and maybe are a bit more committed to the process of really trying to meet somebody?
Yeah, I still come from the place that I still feel that 90% easy, if not 95 of the women that I had a coffee with or had a meet with were serious about finding somebody. I've been a man for a long, long time. I've run across very few women in very few instances, except for being very young, that weren't trying to find quote unquote a relationship. So yeah, sure. I do believe that there is a certain amount of logic in somebody coughing up cash to filter out maybe some of the riffraff, as we might say, or some of the wasted time, as I would probably language it. Sure, I think there's a value to that, but I still think it comes down to this is a very subjective conversation. It's a very subjective interface, and you're going to have to simply, I think we oftentimes try to do too much with getting all of the answers in a human scenario without just simply getting on the bicycle. You're just going to have to go meet people. That's just, to me, the way it is. And it doesn't matter whether it was Zeus or whether it was bagel and coffee or whether it was OkCupid. I mean, every single app that I ever tried, I encountered probably a couple of moments where I discovered in the middle of it that this was somebody who may have just been looking for a brief evening of company, but 99.5% of them were people who were looking for a relationship. I've never seen much else different in my life, but I do think that maybe paying could filter out some people. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I know that for women, a lot of the time they are looking, you would say 99%. And I agree with that, probably close to that. However, men, on the other hand, has not been quite my experience or the experience of the many women that I've spoken with. That I'm saying more for a woman trying to find a man that really wants to have a relationship. Do you think that even though you can meet someone anywhere and things can evolve into anything, would you say the more serious dater as a man would be on maybe a paid site?
Sure, I think that's very valid. But I also would say that, again, Kevin being Kevin in a subjective planet, I would say, pick one of each, because you can always write in your profile on the, free app, you can always write, listen, I'm looking to meet somebody and have it potentially, you please use that word, ladies, potentially turn into something long-term. Just state that. It doesn't mean men are going to necessarily honor it when you first start texting with them. But if a guy makes it sound like he's just, interested in a good time, then just say, hey man, good luck. Take care. I think we spend way too much time trying to convince somebody we've never met before into getting into your way of thinking. This is something that men do in their own way, and women try to turn men they've never even met. They just online and matched and are texting them and try to get them to think what a woman wants. Don't, just move on.
Just move
Even
on.
if it's a paid site and somebody suddenly, because again, I can take the attitude, I'm not trying to be a goofball, Kathlyn. I'm just saying, I'm saying I can take the attitude, oh, well, the women here, if I pay a little bit of money, will believe that I'm more serious, and then I can get them out for a coffee or whatever and talk them into going home. I mean, but I think just from the pure question that you asked, sure, I think that paying money to be on a site would help filter out some of the the one night stand boys. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. No, thanks for being honest on that,
Sure.
for sure. And that's what we're looking for is, the man's perspective on, we can see things as women from our lens, our unique lens. And again, coming from a woman's perspective, it's, a lot of the times it is different than a man's. I'm sorry, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. There's something to that book. The next question I have for you is what is your advice on how a woman can stand out in a profile? I mean, there are millions of people online. What to you or to some of the men would stand out in a profile? It starts with pictures, right? Because we talked about how men are visual. So what type of pictures? And then once you look at the pictures, do you read the bio? And if you do, what stands out? What's different? What catches your eye?
I also, I think, Kathlyn, that we don't take pictures that tell a story about us. That's, again, one of the things that you're being very specific about in our conversations is women over 40. So I'm certainly over 40. And so I'll discuss just men over 40 and I'll keep it to that realm. But I don't think we oftentimes take pictures that tell a story. First of all, half the pictures I witnessed were too dark to even see who the hell I was looking at. Too many of the pictures, especially for women, were in groups of 4 to 7 people. And sometimes it was the first picture. How am I supposed to know who you are? It's like, these are things. And if you have kids, have one picture of your kids. Like, this is part of the thing where a lot of times I get into conversation, and I don't mean it in a bad way, Kathlyn, but you want to present a picture like you're hot and single when you aren't single. You may be hot, and so if you have kids, have one picture out of your profile pictures. Please be with your children, but please have it not be like chasing a dog and you're sideways in a profile and all I can see is your left eyeball. Like, have it a picture just sitting on the couch with your kid or your 2 kids. Like, have your pictures be in good light and tell some sort of a story about you. If you play tennis, one picture playing tennis. If you like to walk on the beach, one picture you want someone to have a sense of you. So the photos don't just tell a physical attractiveness story, but they also tell as the old phrase, like, what would you be doing if I wasn't here? So I think that's fairly important, because then what you put in the profile is going to have a sense of that. I mean, I always love the women who say they were, silly and a lot of fun, and every single one of their pictures was serious. Really, I think I missed the correlation there. If you're silly and have a lot of fun, then have one picture where you're actually smiling. I mean,
that is great advice. That is great advice. Ladies, take heed to that for sure, because a lot of times we are living in a world of filters and photoshopping and our Snapchat, whatever, and we can make ourselves look very different. But we're also a lot of the time trying to make ourselves, especially over 40, look younger maybe, and we have expression lines of our smiles and what we've gone through in life, and don't try to cover them up with a filter is what I'm saying. As we get over 40, we'll start to have, okay. We'll have what I'm saying is we'll have a wrinkle or two. I mean, we're going to have a wrinkle or two. Most people, maybe some people don't. So don't try to use a filter to filter yourself. Then you look almost unreal is the way I look at it. And I love what you're saying about doing something that you would normally do. Meaning, like, I feel like as a man, you'd be seeing, can I step into that world? Can I, do I
want to step into that world?
Right. And if you really see the world, then you have a better idea of whether or not you want to step in. And a lot of the times I know, from experience that women, they don't try to tell a story because they're probably not even thinking about it. They're just trying to find the best pictures they can find on their camera roll and put them on, maybe even Photoshop them a little bit or completely and put them online for people to see. And for a man who's serious about finding someone, they're actually paying attention to those photos. Like you said, your kids, sit on the couch with your kids, but only one. If you play tennis, show yourself playing tennis. If you're goofy, show a goofy picture, even if you don't look like a supermodel in that picture because it hasn't been photoshopped. Because I think men are looking for real. Like, any man that really wants a relationship, they're looking for real. So you have to be careful what you post, because what you post is what you're going to attract, because men are visual first. They're going to see the pictures. If they're maybe just looking for a hookup, what I'm thinking, is that they're going to look at the one with the high heels on and the, you know, the cleavage out and everything else. I mean, not that a man won't look at that anyway, but they're going to look at that, and that's enough for them because that's where they are. But somebody who wants a relationship might look at, okay, well, yeah, she's hot, but let me take it a step further. Let me see, you know, like you said, what does she like to do? What is her everyday look?
Yeah, and I guess, Kathlyn, I just don't. I unfortunately for me, I do not. I stay away from words like model and hot and all that because everybody's a model and hot to someone, and so I stay away from that because we tend to think we have this natural cultural image of what somebody thinks is hot, and the bottom line is there's a million forms of hot, and the fact that somebody's wearing, you know, I found that people in heels and boobs out are sometimes the people that I will last and least likely ever want to talk to. To me, you know, jeans and a t-shirt sitting on your couch with a nice light on your face is hot. So again, I wrinkles. I mean, we're over 40. Yeah, I hope you have some wrinkles because if you don't, something wrong with you. You know, and you know, I'm just saying, I'm talking about composition. Like I just look in the background of where you're recording, and back there's a fitness machine and a dog. So to me, those are two things that are part of your life. If you take a picture sitting on the fitness machine with maybe a workout top on, holding your dog, you just covered two things in your life in one photo.
Wow.
That are a part of your life.
Right. Your everyday life in your space every day.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you think somebody would be taking pictures of only, you know, dressed to the nines, sure, you want to have one picture in the metaphorical little black dress, go ahead. But I just don't view, I stay away from, in my own brain, I stay away from all of the adjectives that we think describe somebody, because I've heard, you know, 100,000 men in my life talk about women, most of whom I wasn't attracted to, but they were attracted to them. Somebody's attracted to everybody. So you got to take pictures of you. You just got to take pictures of you, but if there are 3 or 4 or 5 of them, they should share with someone some element that kind of tells a story about your life.
That is the general consensus I've gotten in speaking with men in regards to the subject of what pictures to post. It's the same thing. If you are the one in the high heels and the short skirt every day, go ahead, post it. That's you. But if you're not, don't. And like you said, maybe the one picture that you went out one night maybe and you have that amazing picture and you chose to show that I can clean up too and I can look like this also. I found that the consensus with men across the board is the same as you. Just show us yourself in your real light. And a lot of times, let me ask you from your experience, would you say what percentage, if you could even think about a percentage of women post pictures in their real life or just try to post the ones that make them look, you know,
it's a combination of, I was in general very, very frustrated because I felt like about overall 50% of the pictures I saw were useless. And too often the first picture wasn't just a simple picture of you from the waist up, just you and your face. That's you. Too often and again, I, you know, love the women that use 2 of the 5 of their pictures or 3 of the 5 of their pictures to take pictures with no one in them. Like, here's a view that I really like. Oh, okay. You like sunsets at the beach without you in it. All right, then maybe that's one of them because someplace in your text you wrote, you know, I like to walk the beach at sunset. Okay, then that's appropriate. But not 3 of the 5. I mean, you're killing me.
Well, the other one that you spoke to earlier, I have to comment on. A picture, your profile picture is you with 5 or 6 other women, or even 3 or 4. Which one are you? And I see that. I see that even with men. Well, I don't know who you are.
Oh no,
and then I go to the next picture and I don't know, or even if I do know, then I wonder automatically, are you trying to hide something? That your profile picture that somebody would see is a group of people, but then if I filter through, now I can find a single picture because are you in a relationship? Are you married? Are you trying to hide it? And, you know, so you could say, oh, that was, you know, Joe's or Jim's or Bob's or whoever's posting, not mine. You know what I'm saying? So that brings up some suspicion in the mind of a woman, but from a man's perspective, who would do that?
Almost everybody. There were I would say 66 to 75% of the time, women that I looked at from, again, several different apps wasted 1 to 3 of the allotted photos.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So ladies, don't do that. Don't send pictures with your friends, your kids. It's okay. Your everyday life, for sure. And that brings me to the next topic: is how to know, as a woman, how would we know if they're the fellow online dater or meter, as you would call it, is actually serious, right?
I would just call them a human being.
The human being on the other line. So the man that you're looking at, how can you, is there a way to identify through a profile whether or not a man is serious about finding someone? I'm not talking about his words.
No.
There's no way to find out.
No. There's no way in Hades my life would ever teach me to believe that, ever.
Oh, okay. So you got to be careful, and
you have to ask questions. This is the reason why, to me, it's a meet. What we want too many answers about something that is complex. I mean, I make a joke all the time, Kathlyn, that if I could have figured out how, from a profile, to ensure two people are going to meet, love each other's company, have great chemistry, and go to that next step and have it last forever, you and I would be doing this remotely from about 3 islands that I would own. I would have made so much money. I'm hesitant. I'm very hesitant to use this word, but it is a necessary word, and the word is lazy. We are lazy. We want to find the person of our dreams, and we don't want to make the effort. And it's from what I just said in terms of actually thinking about the composition of your photos and what story it tells, to also really learning about yourself. And also, when you learn about yourself, what questions do you ask the person you're sitting across from? Even if, which we could do as we know today, you and I've been in each other's presence 2 times total. And yet we're having a Zoom conversation. Well, in the world we live in today, what I would say to a woman on an online app, if I swipe bing, is I would ask for this. And the first problem I would have is that you don't want to have a Zoom chat with me. You don't want to have a Zoom chat with me during the middle of a deadly virus. Have a nice life. Yeah, I have all sorts of little benchmarks, but what we don't want to do is we don't seem to want to ask enough questions. Remember the pictures, pay attention to the profile notes, and start asking questions to see what adds up. Not a matter of an interrogation. I've had women do that to me. I'm like, look, I'm not a serial killer. You don't need to attack me like we're in an interrogation room and you're a policeman. But I've had people come at me that way. Again, this is just part of you. We all have baggage. We've all been hurt. We've all been damaged. Our job in life is to not vomit that on someone in the first 10 minutes of having a coffee.
Absolutely. And we talked about this, I think it was in episode 1, 2. I don't know. This is our 3rd episode, everybody. So if you haven't seen episode 1 or episode 2, I highly encourage you to go back and find that episode. But we did talk about that. There's layers to an onion. There's only, you want to, a layer at a time, you want to peel someone away and get to know them. But without asking interrogating questions, you can ask something like about, what is the most recent movie that you saw? What made you go, what did you like it? What did you like about it? And when you find out the things, oh, it really touched my heart. This reminded me of my childhood, or someone, they might tell you something. Oh, I like the music. I liked the whatever it was. I liked the location. It was on some island that I would love to go to. You learn about people through everyday conversations. Correct. And to interrogate somebody. Now, in the beginning of my process, I went from novice to expert, and I will say novice to expert when I started out with ground zero and below. And I must have come across as a questionnaire, but and someone said to me, why are you, and it was on the phone. We hadn't even met. Why are you asking so many questions? And I was asking, so what do you do for work? I don't ask that question anymore. That can come later. I mean, it's kind of nice to know because you get a sense of somebody. Sure. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a registered nurse.
Well, my interrogation thing, Kathlyn, is much more the tone. I unequivocally, because again, here's what I do. Here's how I'll put this to you about this process. Back in the day before online and dating apps, where did we typically meet people?
The bar.
or
Cool. A
some
social setting.
a concert, just some sort of public setting.
Social
Well,
setting.
if you got into a longish, like again, think about how long, and have your audience think about this when they're watching this. How long when you connect with somebody is your average first text chat? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, I would say to your audience to think about that, because it's different for everybody in every scenario. But if I chatted with you, Kathlyn, at a bar over a glass of wine for 15, 20 minutes, I would ask you what you do. There's nothing wrong with 15 questions. It's that they don't get asked like this, like you're trying to determine that there's something wrong with them. As I say all the time, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. I'm all for questions. I'm a very inquisitive person, and I will pick up on every single thing you say and have a question related to that. But it cannot feel like you came with an agenda in your back pocket, like it's a test in school, that you're going to go down until you realize that this person's safe enough to talk to. Again, I would never made a woman meet me out at night in a place she didn't choose. I always recommended during the day in your neighborhood, because I want you to be comfortable. And I think and this is what I mean about the lazy part. We want to have 90% of our way to liking somebody before we ever meet them. That is a joke to me. It is completely counterintuitive, and you're going to fail most of the time. You should have 10% enough to make you comfortable and go meet the person.
You know, that's somewhere where, again, with my experience, I agree with you 100%, Kevin. I'm not going to spend endless hours talking to you on the phone.
Right.
But however, there are those times where people have a long distance relationship, or we have a pandemic where we're stuck inside. And so maybe you have to have more conversations than you normally would. But in a ideal situation, okay. So this is taking me to another topic. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to sidetrack on this. I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to come back to this. So you're talking online. You send some messages. You show some interest. So to me, I'm not going to message back and forth relentlessly. If somebody doesn't ask me for my phone number, or I might throw it out there. Hey, you want to chat off the site, and exchange numbers? I'm done. I'm moving on, because I'm not going to talk through a dating site for very long. We're here to see each other, meet, change numbers, have a conversation. That's number one.
I would do 3 exchanges. If you're interested in chatting, we need to do this between 2 of us texting.
So now you change numbers. So I agree with that 100%. You hear that 3 times back and forth. There's something, there's something about that to me that doesn't sit right. There's something about an inability to connect with that person, like like without having like the computer and everything else. So then you exchange numbers, right? And you do some texting back and forth. Now for myself, I will not meet somebody if they haven't picked up the phone to call me. So I'm in my mid 50s, okay? And I don't care if I'm in my mid 40s or mid 30s and I met someone through the internet. If somebody doesn't pick up the phone and give me a phone call and I could just hear a little vibe with their voice, I'm not going to set a date and a time to meet them. I have so many friends that do. I tell them, ladies, don't do that. At least even if you have a 3-4 minute phone conversation.
FaceTime conversation tells you a lot more.
Yeah, there you go. A FaceTime conversation. That's even better.
Again, we're Zooming. This is way better than just a phone call, because I get to see your reaction. I get to see your eyes. I get to see your smile. we have lived in a world for a long time that anytime somebody has an issue with wanting to talk to me face to face, we already have a problem.
Yeah. So I agree with that, and so, of course, ladies I don't know if your advice is the same, but my advice is if you don't relentlessly, you said 3 messages. I agree. It's about 3 messages. And it's important what you say in those 3 messages, because there's a lot of people. So if you just say, hey, here's what I'm going to tell you what I personally cannot stand. Hey, okay, I will not respond. I am a woman, and you don't just say, hey. If you say hello, that's fine. I'll respond. Maybe add a few words. How are you? How was your day? How's your weekend? Whatever it is. But just a flat out hey from somebody, I feel like they're too lazy. You said lazy, so I'm using the word lazy to put effort in to type more than a hey. However, if I reach out to somebody first, I usually don't have a lot to say. Like I'll just say hello and a smiley face, because I still feel as a woman, I want to be pursued by a man. So I'm showing you interest by saying hello and a smile. Now you can check out my profile and you can say, okay, so I think that maybe I would like to know this person, and then you'll reach out and then there'll be more verbiage, going forward. How do you feel about that if you just got a hello and a smiley face from a woman?
Well, first of all, I'm a big person on hypocrisy. So I have a lot of women put in their profile, don't just say hey, and then all you guys say is hey. So I have a problem with that. But at the same time, I would never, as a woman, reach out first. I'm not even that, pedantic, but the bottom line is that if you match with somebody in an online interface, I personally feel that it is a man's responsibility to send the first message.
Okay.
I just do. And again, this is something that I think this is a huge part of what my book is about, because my book is about all the stuff that you miss during dating that you should have paid attention to. And it comes back and bites you in a relationship 2 years later. And this would be the example of the very beginning of it. This guy matched with you, and someplace within the first 24 hours of matching you, hey man, listen, he could have been busy. Who knows what the hell was going on? But somewhere in a 24-hour period, if you match with somebody that you swiped on, you should find the time to go, hey, really thrilled to have matched with you. I'm having a psycho day. It's crazy town. I hope you're having a beautiful day, but I'll have a little more time tomorrow at 10 o'clock. That would be a message that I might send when I was under the gun about the time that the match came in. But I'm very chivalrous as a person, but I'm not real big on certain laws and rules about that people have like 72 hours and things like that. I don't really abide by those rules, being physically intimate quickly. I don't have any of those rules. But the online interface is a place where I'm very staunch about the fact that I don't think a woman needs to be sending in that interface, sending a message first. I don't think it's an intelligent premise to start from.
I love that you say that. That's my belief on it as well, because even though it's an online, interface, as you would call it, it doesn't change the fact that we have yin and yang energy, right? Yeah. So if you have female energy and that's you need to show that you have that female energy. And if you want a man to be, have that masculine energy, you want that. If that's important to you, everybody's different. I mean, even if it's 49% feminine or 51% feminine energy and 49% masculine, the 51% should take over. And I feel like a lot of people, because they're not face to face, they step outside of their female energy, women, and think it's okay. Well, it's online. I can reach out. It's mutual. However, you have to take yourself back to what you said. This is the 2020 version of what we did, when we were young, which was meeting somewhere in a public place. So it's the same. So if you would have just said, hey, give me your number, I'll call you, back in the day, then by all means, that's you. There are men that are okay with that and they're welcoming that. But I would say, if you're not that person, what you're saying is you set the precedent. You basically set the precedence for the rest of the relationship. You're the initiator, or I call it Julie, the cruise director, or, and it doesn't always turn out that way, but I would say, here's the thing is you don't need to push. And this is what I'm hearing you say, if a man is interested in you, they will reach out to you.
But it's because it's electronic, Kathlyn.
Right.
I mean, this is the problem is that this is what I mean by lazy. There are, in the last 3 minutes since I said that, there could potentially be plenty of people in your audience who are disagreeing with me because they're like, no, I don't have a problem walking up to a man. That's not this environment. I have no problem with somebody being the initiator and walking up to me and asking me to dance. It's happened only a couple times in my life, but it's happened. I don't have a problem with someone being an initiator because you're getting an instant chemistry exam when you do it in person. That is not this interface that you are discussing. You've set the precedent for this scenario, and this scenario is electronic only. It's not the fact that we can chit chat and instantly know in person, no matter who was the initiator, whether or not I like the fact that we're chatting and I'm happy to talk to you, because we get to know all of that minutia and all of that subjective stuff we can't really put our fingers on. We get to know that instantly. But that's not what this premise is. This premise is some sort of an electronic interface. Bing, boom, you matched, and then you text someone. I'm saying in this environment, I firmly believe that the man should be the person who reaches out with some sort of hello and something more than just hello within 24 hours, 100% of the time. And that's one of the rare occasions you'll ever get me to go a hundy on anything.
Okay, so now I'm going to elaborate on that. I'm going to give you a few things and wait for your response. You're texting somebody, you're messaging back and forth through the site. You say 3 messages and then drop it off. Let's say it's 3 messages and that woman says, okay, so if you want to talk to me, here's my number. Should she ever do that? Or should she wait for a man to ask for her number? Because there's multiples most likely, or, that they're talking to. Should a woman throw that out?
Well, I don't think, I think you can throw it out without throwing out your number. Hey, it seems like we're chatting well. Would you like to have an actual conversation? Nothing wrong with that. I mean, again, because to me, it's, other than that, it's a waste of time. I had many females say, I have to chat more. This is one of my favorite annoying lines ever is, oh, no, I have to get you to know you better before we can actually talk. Ladies, seriously, do you really think you're getting to know somebody better by what they type into an electronic mechanism? And then you want to complain one day that the person you married is a liar? Yeah, because you believed everything he said by what he typed into a phone.
Right.
I mean, it's not a real hard mechanism to tell somebody what they want to hear. But when you hear tone of voice and you see somebody's facial expression and you see how they respond to a question, that might be a little bit more of an indicator than just what they type on an electronic format. So again, I have a real tough time with, but yeah, sure. I wouldn't throw out your phone number. I would just say, I'm comfortable having an actual conversation. You cool with that? Yeah, I'm fine with the lady saying that.
Right. And then if they ask for your number, yes. And if they just text you and they don't pick up the phone to call you, well, what I would do is say, you know what, I'm not really much into texting, which is the truth. I don't like it. I like to talk to people on the phone. And I'm not.
And that's
really
going to be in your profile. So they're all going to know that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But exactly. Well, I'm not really, much of a texter. So if you would like to give me a phone call, I'd love to hear from you, and let it go at that. And if they don't, they don't. If they do, they do. And, but how do you feel as a man, if I were to say that, if you were continually texting me now and we're not on the website or the internet site, messaging back and forth, now we're actually on our phones, but there's no phone call. Would you have a problem?
Yeah, I would not, again, these are all the structure and the game board of how this all starts. And I'm just really specific. First and foremost, if you said, hey, we're having an actual conversation, the first thing I wouldn't do is ask you for your number. The first thing that I would do is I would absolutely, here's my number. Don't want to pressure you as to when you want to talk. So think about what's cool for you, like in the next 24, 36 hours, give me a couple of time frames and text me and let me know when you're available. And I'll text back and let you know, and we'll confirm a time. I'm really big on setting an appointment. I hate unnecessary, unknown BS. So I'm going to codify this down very quickly, and I'm not going to ask you to drag your number out of you. I'm going to give you mine and just say, text me and give me some idea of when it's good to talk today and tomorrow, and we'll figure out a time. And at that time, I will call you on that exact time. This is all for me, the premise of how I set things up, because I'm a person who does what he says and says what he does.
And ladies, this is very important for you to pay attention to, because this is a man who's, when he's chosen to meet people, via the internet, he's intentional about what he's doing. Follow what he's saying. If you're trying to decide, is this person serious? That's what we're talking about. How do we know if someone's serious? If they're serious or not, pay attention to what Kevin's saying. And I've heard this not just from Kevin, I've heard this from multiple men. If they're serious, if they're interested, and if they're interested in you, you'll get the call, they'll reach out. And I love the way that you give a little bit of that leeway to provide comfort and safety for the woman, basically by saying here, I'll give you my number, you reach out. And a lot of times a woman would probably think, well, you reach out to me. So let's say the woman thinks they're uncomfortable with that. Maybe they're a little bit more.
But I explain it. And if they say, no, here's my number, give me a call, that's cool. But I explain why I'm doing it. I don't leave, and Kathlyn, I'm a communication guy. It's what I do as a keynote speaker. I don't leave anything to your ability to invent a truth that isn't mine. I don't ever do that. I've practiced that because it protects me. I'm a Pisces. I'm actually really sensitive, and I protect me. And so I go, I'm giving you my number. This is the reason I'm doing it. I don't want you to feel pressured that you have to drag yours out and give it to me first. And I want to give you the latitude to text me and tell me, give yourself a minute, think about what's good for you somewhere between today and tomorrow or the next day, and let me know a couple of good time frames that work for you. And I will tell you which one does, and we will pick it, and then I'll explain every bit of that. You can't screw it up.
Well, that's you. But there's a lot of men like you. But what if the woman was uncomfortable with calling a man and she were to say, I'd love to talk to you. Here's my phone number. I get off work at 5:00. Anytime after 6 is good. Then would you feel comfortable calling her?
Sure. Then what I would do is I would immediately, when she gave me that in the electronic interface, and gave me her number, I would immediately text her and go, hey, Kathlyn, it's Kevin. I'm just connecting our phone since you gave it to me, and I'm going to give you a call about 7:30. Cool? ?
So for me, what I've learned to do, this is similar. So if I don't really want to call a man first. So if they do the phone number thing, I'll say thank you, and I'll text. This is Kathy from wherever. I look forward to hearing from you.
But give a man a time.
Yeah, that's great advice.
This is something that really is quite aggravating for me. Everyone says they're busy and their life's important. And one of the most important things I've discovered, Kathlyn, about being over 40 is that one of the challenges I find in dating over 40 is that I have gotten the feeling very often that people are very inflexible. They've gone through hell. They've raised kids. Maybe they were abused. I don't know, lousy relationships. And now there's this chip on everybody's shoulder. And there's a very, very little flexibility in people's lives. They built their lives. They built their schedule. They're proud of themselves. This is something, especially, again, I grew up with 2 women, no father, no brother. I have respect, very much respect for y'all. But this is one of the things that I encountered of like, by God, I'm a strong woman. I'm independent. To hell with you. This is my life. This is my schedule. You show me how badly you want to get in it. And that comes out sometimes even in the profile. It certainly comes out very quickly in talking with folks. And it's just off-putting to me. We all are busy. We all have schedule. The whole point of dating is to do this. And so I would not ever leave it as casual or laissez-faire to that. I'm going to say, here, hi, it's Kathy from Thing, and offer information. Tonight between 6:30 and 8 is good, or tomorrow. Give people options to try it, because otherwise you spend 7 texts trying to figure out when you can chat.
Right.
And it makes me insane. I do that. I mean, I do it every day of my life, even in COVID time. All I'm doing is constantly asking people, hey, give me 2 or 3 options. Give me 2 or 3 days and 2 or 3 times next week that work for you, and I'll make one of them fit. I do it all the time. Men, women, business, the whole thing.
And it makes complete sense, because we are busy, and it doesn't mean we're not open to having a conversation, but we want to let you know, yeah, I'm open. I love that. And here's the times I'm open. I'm open all these times. And my thing is you say be flexible. I'm personally flexible. So if I can talk to somebody and maybe I didn't send a time, or maybe it's an off time, I'll do my best to have some type of response to show I'm interested in you. And I can't wait to talk to you about that later. Next thing though, that I want to ask you, probably the last thing that we'll talk about today, should anybody meet without having a telephonic phone conversation first? Should a woman meet you or anybody else at a Starbucks or at a lounge? you know,
I'm
you
gonna,
text
I'm gonna
each
turn it. I'm
other.
gonna turn it back around on you just for the fun of it, but then I'll get to it.
Okay. Yeah, turn it around.
Tell me the reason. If you're meeting during the day in a public place, why wouldn't you?
Okay, so here's my thing. You know, why wouldn't I? So I'm going to say I will not meet somebody that hasn't made the effort in of picking up the phone and having at least a 1
Sure.
or 2 minute conversation to hear a voice. It's not to judge them.
No.
It's about respect to me as a
Yeah.
woman. You pick up the phone. You don't just send me a message, hey, meet me at the Starbucks on, you know, A Street and B Street at 5 o'clock. Does that work for you? Yeah, that works for me. That doesn't work for me. Pick up the phone.
Right. But your
old-fashioned.
comment to that, Kathlyn, would be, well, then, yeah, that's cool, but I like to have a conversation first.
Yeah, even if
Again,
it's 2 minutes. Yeah.
I would put all of this in my profile. I'm not a heavy texter, and I will require that we have a phone conversation before we ever meet. That should be in your profile.
Oh, yeah.
Why discuss something that's an obvious benchmark? That's an obvious wall to you. That's a very valid one. Why would you have to discuss it? You know, that's just like saying that, you know, the height at Disneyland is this high to actually get in the ride. There's no question mark. It's not a wiggly line. It's a straight line. And if your head doesn't go over it, you ain't riding the ride. So whatever your guidelines are, which are completely valid and completely up to you, that's just in my profile.
Okay, you know what? That's something interesting. So
Because
Kevin,
that's your boundary.
it's a boundary, and guess what? You know, a lot of the times women don't put their boundaries in their profile, not
Why?
probably because they're not even thinking about it.
That's
They're not, because I actually will tell you, I've never put that in a profile when I've been engaged in internet dating, and I should put that. I say what you mean and mean what you say, because a man of his word is super important to me. You know, like, even if it's not what I want to hear, just be who you are, and I will deal with that. But I never put that in before, and now that you say this, yeah, I would put that in. I'm not a texter. I'll have
you
a
should
few
put anything in there that you have strong feelings about.
Yeah, no,
I put in my profile, a first meet is not a first date. If this is a problem for you, please swipe left. That was in my profile.
And I love it.
I'm not gonna waste my time trying to explain to somebody, because we all have boundaries. Mine are very fair. I'm a human being. I'm a gentleman. I'm all those things. But what is the point of having gotten to 40 or 45 or 50 and learned all of the hell you've learned and know how you feel about it, and then don't actually utilize the very tool you have by stating, here's the directions to my life?
Right.
And I'm not talking about what I said a second ago. What I said a second ago was a lifestyle statement. When I met with a lot of women, the way they presented their lifestyle, not the rule of having a conversation before you meet, their lifestyle made it basically so that they were strong and proud of it, and there was no way in for you. You had to like just flip over 27 things backwards on a motorcycle to actually find a way in a piece of a place between two cats and, you know, their yoga and their beach runs and their, you know, there's no place for a guy. And so I don't mean that. That's a lifestyle scenario. But we all have benchmark rules, and we all have certain things that do and don't do it for us. Well, a couple simple ones are the people that you started this whole thing off today with, you know, which side is better? You know what's better? You saying what you're not okay with and you saying what you need. That's what's better on any freaking site.
Yeah. You know, I have to go back to, I was going to go into a whole nother area, which I'll do on our next time. But because now I just, something you said made me.
Uh-oh, I triggered something else. Uh-oh.
So, yeah, you did. But as a woman, one thing that, you know, I see this repeatedly. So, you know, I see in my age range, you know, my mid 50s, you know, anyone within a couple years on either direction, I see 95% of the time, I would say maybe even more, I love outdoors, and you see a picture of them skydiving, and a picture of them skiing, and a picture of them scuba diving, and a picture with their shirt off at the beach, and a picture on a motorcycle, like all this stuff. And I think, okay, like that's a little bit too much for me, because, and probably, I think inside, probably you did that once and you're really excited about it. Maybe you do it all the time. I would see if they do it all the time, there'd probably be multiple pictures of doing the same thing, or maybe they're just super adventurous. But for me, I think, you know what, I'm like, I like to do things. I like to get out and about. However, I'm not ready to be jumping off planes, you know, hanging from from things upside down and like spending every day out doing something. And I'm not saying they're not doing it, but my perception is when I've actually met these people, it isn't what they do on a regular basis. It's like the woman. So it's kind of like the woman who posts the pictures, the night she had her makeup done and her heels on and she looks super hot. And then another picture like that. Maybe not their everyday life, but maybe about those few occasions, and they think it'll draw attention. So they put that on there. So that's one thing that deters me. Like it literally makes me say a little bit too much for me, swipe left. Another one is
as it should.
The shirt.
That should.
That
should accomplish that.
So you agree with me?
With you? Yeah, because anybody who presents themselves a certain way that doesn't work for you, why would you ever, again, this is such a, I'm sorry, Kathlyn, it's a high percentage generalization. No, it's not everybody. So if this doesn't apply to you, I'm not talking to you. But this is one of the things that women do. They're constantly trying, they like the visual of somebody, and they're constantly trying to figure out a way to make themselves, play the game of Twister to fit inside of all this other. No, if a guy posts 5 pictures that make it look like he never does anything except for he's out doing something really fast that's dangerous, and that doesn't strike me for the inside of me, that should be a swipe left in 2 seconds. Never ponder it. Next. You can't make every person work for you. And I'm telling you, women do the same thing. And let me tell you one of the things women do that makes someone like me go, oh boy. Is they have one picture of themselves, and all of the rest of their pictures are all with all of their besties all of the time. Do you know what that tells me?
Party girl.
Oh, I'm going to get the first time I meet her, I'm going to be interrogated by all of her friends. Her friends all come first. I will never be anything but second place. Her world, again, this is what happens to people. And part of that perception, it's hard for me to get away from if 4 of your 5 pictures are with your 3 or 4 best friends. 1, I understand. But when you put 4 or 5 of them, just like the motorcycle and the skydiving, my first thought is, I don't want to have to go through the gauntlet of besties before I even get a chance to talk to you.
And the thing is that this goes back to being presenting an accurate interpretation of yourself. Maybe that's all one night at your 50th birthday or a wedding, or maybe that's the only pictures, that's the only times you've seen your friends in the past 10 years. So if it's not and this is what we're saying, be somewhat transparent, be real. Who are you?
Present your life.
Exactly.
We live in a world, Kathlyn, where not taking pictures that present your life is inexcusable. You can get your neighbor that you barely even know to take one picture of you. That you can have a picture that explains what it is you do. You don't have to, this is bullshit to say that was from one night and I really had fun that night, so I used 4 of those 5 pictures for my profile. Then you didn't actually bother to think how that presents you.
So ladies,
and this is my problem with the online dating interface. And
so ladies, the message to all of you out there is, if you're really looking for love, if you're really looking to find your other half, your person to go through, the rest of your life with, I look at life in thirds. We got our first third of our life, right, where we're being born and raised. Then we have our next third, and where we find our career and we find ourselves, so to speak. Then we have the last third of our life, the final
last chapter.
And how do you want to, this is not a dress rehearsal. There are no, take 2, take 3, take 4. This is it. This is life. And so how do I want to live my life? So ladies out there, figure out what is it that you want and accurately represent yourself for what you want. It's okay what you want. You don't have to walk like the other ducks or think that that's what somebody wants. If it's truly you, put it out there, because I'm going to tell you, I would rather have one person hit me up that was serious and on the same page as me versus 100 people hit me up because of who they thought I was and who I really wasn't, because you can only keep that going for so long. So it's about being accurate in your representation. Again, like Kevin said, your photos, have photos of you in your everyday life. You could have that one like hot photo that you like. That's fine too. But also what you put in your profile. Make it what is really important to you, and be specific. Like I learned from you tonight, I don't like a lot of texting. I'm not, if you don't pick up the phone to call me, there won't be a date. I won't meet you. You know, people do that. I think I don't even know how you can go meet somebody that you've never even talked to on the phone, but have at it. If you're okay with it, you're okay with it. I'm not judging. So a lot of great advice that you have given, Kevin. And I've got one more thing to ask. I'm just going to throw this all for a loop.
Go, girlfriend. Do it. Make it happen.
Men sending pictures of their anatomy or naked or, you know, almost their anatomy and naked before you even meet. What's your take on, where does that come from? What is your take on that?
When not being requested?
When not being requested.
When not being requested? Well, typically I probably would guess in my life that most of the men who do that happen to be very well endowed. And that actually tells you that, first of all, a lot of women love it. Secondly, a lot of women think they don't love it, and all of a sudden they see one and they're like, ooh, I do kind of love that. So men do it. There's an old cliche that was like 4 olds, Kathlyn, going way back. It's been around for a long time, of like a guy who walks through the bar and just randomly walks up to women and says, hey, would you like to F? Would you like to that? You know, the 4-letter F word. Going to get slapped about 10 times, but somewhere between 8 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning, someone will say yes. So so that's why men do it. The other reality is that, and again, I probably don't because, I don't know, I'm not swinging to my knees, but also I wouldn't do it just in general of the way I present myself in life, even when I was younger, you know, unless somebody requested it and I had enough engagement with them that I was even comfortable doing it. I don't have any of that stuff from my past. Doesn't mean I wouldn't have done it, but I haven't done a ton of that in my life with regards to just even with the 3 long-term relationships or women that I dated for 3 or 4 months. I've had a little bit of fun with a camera, but not really much. So it's not my nature in general. And usually what it is, it's the same thing as boobs and the heels. You're selling the physicality part of yourself, and that's what you're selling. And usually most of the men who choose to do that are wanting you to become enamored with their junk because that's what they're selling. And if that's the case for you, cool. Again, I don't have any rules, Kathlyn, about people being themselves and or doing what it is they want to do. That's my biggest thing. But your premise for us, our conversations are about dating over 40 and finding a connection.
Right.
I don't use the word love, because you have to have chemistry and a connection first. And the belief that sex quickly ruins that forever is a lie. And the belief that holding out on a man is going to guarantee a relationship is a lie. The belief that somebody can't be made of something because they sent you a D pic doesn't always mean the case, but probably most of the time it is. And most of the time when all a woman does is show me 2 bikini pictures and her in, you know, pink sweats with, say, you know, and her profile says she loves shopping, she probably doesn't have a ton of deep conversations. So usually some of what we see tells us a decent amount of the picture, but I'm not one to judge what somebody is or isn't looking for at the moment. But most of the men who do that probably are fairly well endowed, and that's what they're selling because they want to see who's going to bite. Maybe literally.
Right. So do you feel it's so women have this happen, and I find that time after time, they don't know what to do because this is
You're kidding me. You're kidding me.
They don't know.
Block.
Well, the guy will ask for a picture. Now, let me tell you, they've actually not met this man before, and they will literally send pictures.
Yes, block, report. Why is this a conversation? Block, report. Why does this go past anything other than block, report? No, I'm asking you, Kathlyn. I want you to answer as a woman for all the women watching you. Why in the world, if this is so offensive, would you do anything other than block, report? Why?
Well, exactly. I've never thought of the report part of it, the block part of it, definitely. But I know
it's against every user rule out there. You can't. That's not a part of any user terms that.
And you can do that on every site. You can actually block somebody. You can actually report them. So those men out there, what I'm saying, ladies, is don't feel manipulated into this is the way it is.
Block, report. Block, report.
Block, report. And we're going to get so down into things to look out for to keep your safety in check. You know, I am a former police officer, 10 years. I have a lot of great advice for you, ladies, on keeping you safe. Well, you can still navigate this process. You can still have a great time and meet great people, but you need to stay safe while we're doing it. So maybe next episode we can like flip into keeping these women safe, on episode number 4, which is coming up soon with Kevin E. West, right?
That is correct. The Kevin E. At the Kevin E.
Kevin E., thank you so much for coming to the Love You Live You podcast. And I would like you to tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you.
Oh, well, my website's kevinewest.com. And again, my email is kevin@kevinewest.com. And my social media is @TheKevinE.
Hello, everybody. And thank you again for tuning in to today's podcast, Swiping Over 40. If you like what you heard, go ahead and subscribe to my podcast channel. And ladies, I'm super excited because I do have a book coming out shortly, and it's titled Dating in a Fast Food World, The Girlfriend's Guide to Internet Dating, She Says, He Says. You're going to love it. It takes into account anything you can imagine that you might encounter while navigating through the online dating process. But not only does it have the input from a woman, it has the input from a man as well. So you'll get the inside scoop. You can also subscribe to my newsletter by going to Kathlyn.com. I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you, and may you all find love.